Genel izleyici. Yayın başlıyor. İyi seyirler.
Welcome to our first, hopefully not the last meeting. We will discuss about film and theater and literature-related issues, hopefully, in the future, and with the support and the contribution of Ide TV in Istanbul, in Turkey, active. And I will be the moderator, even though I'm not really looking forward to it, but we will be with Amina. And today's topic, we would like to talk about two films, one from Soviet Union, Stalker from 1979 by Andrei Tarkovsky, and Once Upon a Time in Anatolia from Turkey from 2001 by Nuri Bilge Ceylan. And I think these films are very similar to each other in many layers, yet different, and we will discuss about this. And it's Amina's word now.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, especially discussing art and great films with Dr. Tayfun Luxembourgeus. It's our first episode, and it's dedicated to great feature films that have a lot in common, more than you think.
Exactly.
So first of all, let me ask you a question. Which one of these films is your favorite? If you have to choose.
Yeah, if I have to choose, I think I will choose Stalker every day of the week, because it is timeless and it is more universal than Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Once Upon a Time in Anatolia is one of my favorite films, and I watched it, if I didn't watch more than that, at least 20 times.
Wow.
It's a great masterpiece. It's, I think it's the best film of Ceylan so far.
I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, I was thinking about it in connection with Stalker, and I see a lot of similarities, and I thought that it would be great to discuss this with a Russian speaker, with a Russian who knows the culture, history, and the language much better than I do.
Trust me, language is not the most important thing, like to know, to understand art, because art is universal. And actually, films like Tarkovsky's and Nuri Bilge Ceylan and other directors' work, they are so clear, and through visuals, through different effects, and most importantly, great scripts, they talk to every single viewer, even those who have never studied art or went to cinema or have never been to ballet or opera. You have to feel. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. Like, if what you see brings emotions, then it's art. If not, forget about all the reviews.
Exactly. Should we talk about the films? For example, maybe you would like to give some short introduction to Stalker, then I can do the same thing to Anatolia. Then
actually, I wanted to do the opposite, because it will be interesting. It will be like too logical, for a Turkish to talk about Turkish film and Russian. Okay, so you start with Stalker.
Yeah.
And then I'll continue with Once Upon a Time in Anatolia.
Yeah, there's a very nice comment in a YouTube clip of that film on YouTube. It says that three men goes for a walk, and one of them finds a dog and comes back, and that's all. Of course, it's not all, but
long story short.
Yeah, this is pretty much what happens in the film, but it's much deeper than that. I mean, it's a story. It's a story of an imaginary place, and there's a place called Zone. They don't really know how it come to be. They speculate that maybe it's extraterrestrial visited that place, or there was some accident or something. There's a place called Zone, and the most important quality of that zone is that it gives the visitors their deepest desires to come true. Mm-hmm. And knowing that, a scientist and a very well-established writer wants to visit that zone because they have both personal issues. The writer has lost the ability and this desire to create anymore and feels hopeless. And likewise, the scientist has lost hope for the life, feels hopeless and meaningless. That's why they're hoping to find what they are desiring once they reach this zone. And there are people called stalkers, and one of them shows them the road to go there. You know, Stalker takes this place so seriously, unlike the writer and the scientist. And at the end, they arrive to zone, and neither of them tries to step into the room where the zone is, because they're really afraid that their deepest desires should come true. Even if they claim that they want these things to happen, they are not ready to take that step. Mm-hmm. And the film ends there.
Yes.
Would you be satisfied with that explanation?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, and I loved both, like the short version and the longer, and everything is so clear, you know. And I wanted to add that, you know, the zone is like a miracle zone, right? In Russian, it sounds like a chuda zona, so where all the dreams come true. And it's a very unique film, in my opinion, visually and mentally, spiritually, and the script is brilliant, and I really love that there is sense of humor in it, and it makes you watch it like with pleasure, you know. It makes it easier, you know, to get there and forget about reality. And I want to say a few words about Nuri Bilge Ceylan's film Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. It was shot in 2011, and it won a Grand Prix at Cannes Film Festival, where he is you know, participant quite often. So
he's a regular, definitely.
The only film that won at Cannes, you know, we know that the Winter Sleep also won an award there, and you know, he just got an award in France, and congratulations to him and Merve Dizdar and all the Turkish artists that received such high honor. And it's really great that we discuss these films like in parallel with such historical events for Turkish and world culture. And in the film Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, there is a story about a murder, and prosecutor, police, and doctor, they are looking for the body. They don't know where it's buried, and the guy who killed the man, you know, he is you know, pretending he doesn't remember, or you know, maybe he really forgot. We can't be sure about that, but anyway, they are looking for the body entire night, and only like next day they find it. But an interesting thing is that while prosecutor is looking for the body with the team, he finds out the reason his wife committed suicide. So it's kind of like finding what you did not look for while you were at work. So I find it very interesting, and I really loved the cast, especially actor Muhammed Uzuner, who played Dr. Kemal. Such a deep performance, and you truly believe what you see. You can relate to such a doctor, and probably Anton Chekhov somehow inspired that character because he was a doctor. And there is a line that says, like, correctly if I'm wrong, like, Alim Pilar Anton Chekhov. So it's like a quote, or like
quotes.
How to translate it correctly? Yes. If you're not Turkish, tell us.
Citations, yeah.
Yeah, citations. So it's really nice. And actually, I think, you know, Muhammed Uzuner did a great job, you know. So Chekhov would be satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can start the similarities between these two films.
Yes.
Yeah, in my opinion, Once Upon a Time in Anatolia film is like an allegory on Stalker, because plotline is almost identical. You know, a couple of guys with the help of a stalker, someone who shows them the way, they are searching for a mystery.
Yes.
In Stalker, it's the stalker who shows them the road to the zone, but in Anatolia, it's the murderer who's trying to take them, these two guys, to somewhere. But on the way, the most important things in these two films is the journey, not the destination itself. The journey itself is the most important, because it's on the journey these characters, the main characters, discover things that they truly desire.
Mm-hmm.
In Stalker, the writer discovers that he is not really ready, that his dream should come true.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't step into the room. Likewise, the professor, the scientist who came there to explode, actually to destroy the zone, doesn't dare to do it, and he steps. Likewise, in Anatolia, as you said, the prosecutor finally figures out why his wife committed suicide. Actually, it's him who caused that. And he didn't face this until now, and he discovers this. And the other thing, the doctor, even though he complains about that place, they're like in a countryside somewhere, he doesn't have this desire, true desire to leave that place. Even if he has the power, ability to do it, he just doesn't dare to do it because he's afraid. And in that sense, this film is like very Russian, like Once Upon a Time in Anatolia is a very Russian novel-like to me, because when you look at the Russian modernization, Russian literature, you see the themes of modernization, countryside, bureaucrats, peasants, their relation to each other, existentialist crisis, the crisis of religion, and all these issues is really existing in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. And in this regard, I think the Turkish society and the Russian society somehow very similar to each other in that level.
And I wanted to mention that brilliant actor Taner Birsel played the prosecutor Nusret, and I mean, you look at him and he looks like a rock star, like with eyes and as if someone took an eyeliner and helped him made it like, you know, black, you know, and his character says like, you know, this dead body looks like Clark Gable, and other guys say, oh, actually you look like Clark Gable too, and he's like, oh, I've been told that a lot, but don't write that down like in our report. So it was quite funny, and I really loved his performance as well. And it's really interesting that such person, a prosecutor whose job is not easy, was so naive in his personal life, you know, so like, you know, I don't know how to say it, but he had no idea like why his young, beautiful wife who just gave birth to their child committed, so she died. He thinks that she just died. The heart just stopped. I mean, really? Really? So, and he did not turn on his profession and, you know, research, like, you know, what happened, like, you know, he did not investigate.
Yeah.
The most important case in his life. He was not that, you know, detailed about his, like, you know, thoughts, you know, and his work when it came to his family. And when we see him at work, you see like how every single detail is important, and you see the contrast, you know. It's like, you know, many doctors, you know, when they work at the hospital, they are very attentive to every single client, and when they are at home, and if something happens like to their children, like, okay, that's not very important, you know, we will not even go to the hospital, you know. You're gonna be healthy, so they don't take seriously something that happens in their family. I noticed that a lot.
Yeah, I see. But how would you say that as a Russian, is
Yes.
this story, like Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, is familiar to you? Like, do you feel that, is there some connection to Russian culture, Russian literature there? Is it obvious to you?
Yes, especially like the village part, you know, because we have a lot of villages, and people who live there and dream to go to the city, they have similar problems. And, you know, the head of that village, who is kind of nice guy, but bragging about like his sons, like his daughter, his family, like, and like, oh, I did not even want to become a head of the community again, but neighbors asked me. You know, the way they talk is just like you hear, you know, people in the villages in Russia talk, you know, and it's so similar. And actually, I want to mention that there is a line, I think prosecutor says that, about the daughter of the head of the community. He says that, you know, such a beautiful girl will just die in this hole. It's kind of
Yeah.
beautiful people are not happy. That's the point. And actually, I mentioned the same quote in my comedy Stanislavski Chekhov about waitress Güler. She's Turkish, and she says that Turks say beautiful people are never happy. And Stanislavski asks her, so what about you? She's like, I have everything ahead of me. So it's like, it's coming, So it's really interesting. And yes, life in villages is similar. And actually life in the big city is quite similar too, because if we take like Istanbul and Moscow, so many people, life never stops, and everything is working like 24/7. Traffic, we have that in common. Huge traffic. So, and actually beautiful underground as well.
Sure.
Yes, and I really want to say that I loved the DP work in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. It was such a brilliant work, and I want to name the guy who made that beauty for us viewers, Gökhan Tiryaki, such a brilliant director of photography. And speaking of Tarkovsky's director of photography, who is also a genius, Alexander Knyazhinsky. I mean, what we see in his films, in all his films, is masterpiece. Even if we just take DP work, without going any further, just the image amazes you, and you are like, how did they shoot it? How did they make it? It's not something that's easy to repeat, even if you have the same camera.
For sure.
Or like all the technology we have now.
Yeah.
They did not have it like back in the 70s, but think of the creativity and imagination they had, to do that. And I really loved the scene in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, where you see an apple, and it's like falling into the water, and it's like acting, and you're like, oh my God, what a great take. It's like, how many takes did they do to get that image alone without any actors? And the image with the dog, in both films. I mean, animals and children always play better than adults.
For sure. But since you mentioned the dog and the kids, I think we can also mention that
Yes.
in the films there are very similar elements. In Stalker, the stalker has this family issues.
Yes, with the boy.
He has a daughter. Probably she is sick. We don't know what the problem is with her, but she has this kind of sickness. And
oh, sorry, I thought he was talking about Anatolia. Yes, with a girl in Stalker and
Stalker.
Boy in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia.
Exactly.
Yes.
They both have both stalkers, the policeman in Anatolia, the real stalker in Stalker. They have family issues.
Yes.
And they are not happy with their relations. They are having conflicts with their partners. And also they have kids who have health issues.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very interesting similarity. And also dog, in both films, dog appears and disappears.
Black dog.
Black dog, for sure. That's definitely a reference to Andrei Tarkovsky, because Ceylan has many times said that Tarkovsky is one of his favorite directors, and also he refers to his films directly in his films too. For example, in his film Distant, there's a long take, around a couple of minutes, maybe 2-3. We see Stalker playing on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these references, and also Ceylan has said several times that he is inspired by the Russian literature, particularly of Chekhov.
Yes.
So it's not coincidence, these references, these similarities are there. But one thing I find it very entertaining, the name of the film, the Turkish one, Once Upon a Time in Anatolia.
Mm-hmm.
It brings to mind to these famous Hollywood films. Once Upon a Time in America, Once Upon a Time in West. All these films create this expectation of meeting this blockbuster American commercial film. But what you see is an allegory of a Soviet art film, which is a very nice trick, in my opinion.
Yes, it is. And I wanted to mention that Yilmaz Erdogan played that
Yeah.
stalker in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. He played a policeman and did a great job. I love his acting, and it's so true. And I loved his film Butterfly's Dream so much, where he played Behçet Necatigil. The person who made so much for Turkish poetry, and the mentor of Rushdie Onur and Muzaffer Tayyip Uslu. And now, when I saw him as a policeman, I'm like, oh my God, I know him, but he looks different because of the character, because of the profession, and but equally great. And he asks Dr. Kemal about the recipe, if he can give him tablets for his son. And it's really what we see in life, people who cannot fix these problems themselves. They need help, they need doctors. And yes, there is a definite parallel between the family issues in Stalker and Once Upon a Time in Anatolia.
Exactly. There's also other similarity. For example, there's an issue of cheating, in Anatolia, the prosecutor, we learned that he cheated on his wife. Yeah, there's a similar story going on in Stalker. We learned that scientist's wife has been sleeping with someone else.
With a colleague.
Yeah, with a colleague. So this is one of the tensions as well of the character. So there's definitely the similarities. But one thing I find it interesting, in Stalker, there is this post-apocalyptic environment, and there is this otherworldly narration, which is like transcendental. It's not really dealing with the reality, daily reality. In Anatolia, it's not post-apocalyptic, but in a level, it's also post-apocalyptic, because there's a saying, there's a small story of Nasreddin Hoca. They come and ask him, they're asking, when is the apocalypse going to happen? He says that the small apocalypse will happen when my wife dies, and the big one will happen when I die. So in that sense, every death is an apocalypse. So in the film, we are seeing that it starts with a death scene. So we are also talking about this apocalyptic environment, even though it's like super real, everything is like very realistic. There's this transcendental level that the film goes beyond and deals with these issues of existentialism, the meaning of life. And especially we see that where the monologue scene, where the driver talks about living in Anatolia, living in the middle of this nowhere, that you feel that poetic and transcendental feeling there. What would you say about that?
And actually, you can hear poetry in both films. In that car in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, you hear the way he reads a poem, and also in Stalker, we hear a character, reading poems just out of nowhere. It's like, oh my God, I did not expect poetry here, but it's really nice, it's unique and truly original,
Yeah. But would you say that Anatolia is like more than just allegory on Stalker, like maybe some ideas stolen from Stalker? Would you say that? Would you dare to say it?
Inspired by. Definitely
okay.
Inspired by, not stolen completely, from A to Z, but definitely inspired by, not based on. But visually, I'm sure he was inspired by Tarkovsky and his DP's work, and probably Gökhan Teriyaki also was inspired by the DP of Tarkovsky, and they kind of made this agreement. So let's make a movie, Turkish version of Stalker, but nowadays, if it was today, how would that be? And it looks really natural, and actually even the posters look similar. You see this places, weird places, but they look visually similar. It's as if the same location, but 50 years later. Same
Exactly.
person made a photo shoot,
Yeah, and the interesting thing is as well, like Stalker is also a literature adaptation. It's adapted from a novel.
Yes,
Yeah,
brother Strugatsky's, yeah, their
yeah,
work.
exactly. Even though Anatolia is not directly adapted from a novel, it was adapted from a story of the writer. I don't remember the actor that who acts the Mukhtar in the film.
Mhm.
He was actually a doctor, a real doctor. So it's based on his experience and his short stories. So
Mhm.
we can talk about this literature adaptation connection too as well in those films.
Yes, so when there is a an adaptation and the basis, which is a masterpiece itself, when it's a strong script, there is no way the movie to be bad, So, and here in both films, you have a strong basis. And yes, I really love films based on books and or inspired by the book. But there is a plot, an original idea, and you can feel it, and great dialogues. When I watched Stalker, I laughed so many times, because of the comments that professor makes, with his backpack, so, oh, I need to go back and take my bag. It's like, forget about these things, nobody's going back, we only go forward. So, and a writer, he is so hilarious too. The way they discuss art and life in general. Some small comments, they make you laugh. And even if it's not a comedy, still it brings so much joy. And the comments are timeless and very universal. Even today they sound very natural and organic. Like,
Yeah,
same problems, different century.
exactly. I forgot what I was about to say something about that, but I just slipped my
Maybe
mind.
about the doctor who influenced Dr. Kemal.
No, I was not. I was not thinking about it, but I was thinking about something. No, I was
Yeah.
thinking that, Stalker is a difficult film. I remember now. Stalker is a difficult film to watch if you are especially not trained to deal with this kind of artistic films.
Hmm.
Might be very demanding to watch it because it's like pretty much nothing really happens in the film. They're just like waiting, talking, sleeping, walking in the grass, and doing nothing. But in
And
that sense,
meeting a dog.
yeah, with a dog, exactly. They are just strolling with a dog on the park. Uh, but Anatolia in that level is much more accessible. There's a plot line, a serious plot line that you can follow what's going on. But at the same time, it plays with this deeper philosophical issues of existence, feeling of being trapped somewhere,
Mhm.
of this alienation, because the doctor is living in a countryside, like many of Russian characters, Russian novel characters.
Mhm.
He's not happy to be there as a bureaucrat, but at the same time, he doesn't dare to go to the city because he doesn't have money, he doesn't have connection, he doesn't have any reason, and he knows this. Wherever he goes, he will bring himself. This is one of the themes
Mhm.
of Ceylan. Ceylan always says this. The countryside side is in you. Wherever you go, you take it with you.
Mhm.
And the feeling that the idea that you will feel better if you go somewhere else is just an illusion.
Yeah, actually, it's the same in a Chekhov's play Three Sisters. Like, they always say, like, "Oh, I want to go to Moscow, to Moscow." And the thing is, like, when people in the West watch like classical version of Three Sisters, they're like, "What's the problem? Just buy a ticket, and the next scene will be, at the train station, and you are in
Yeah.
Moscow." So why are they saying this line like again and again? Because they live in illusion. They wanna go back to Moscow, but they don't make it, and it's actually based on a, way of thinking of people. Many people in the whole world, not just in Russia or Turkey, they dream of something, but they don't go for it. They just like, spit it out. So I want to go. Okay, go. Or like collect money, buy ticket, like step by step. Move and make your dream a reality. Why don't you make it? And they really think that somewhere else it will be happier.
Exactly.
But the problem is that they don't know that happiness is within you, and it's not because of someone else or some location.
Yeah.
if you are unhappy, you will be unhappy everywhere in the world, you know. It doesn't matter like if you're married or single, you know, it's about you and your inner feeling, you know. And yes, there is a similarity, like, you know, going somewhere. Actually, I think he took that from Chekhov as well.
For sure, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, in Tarkovsky's films, in Stalker, you see the author. He wants to be famous again. He wants to be loved again, and he has this desire come true if he steps into the room, into the zone. But
Yes.
he stops there because he's afraid if this is what really he wish, because there's a risk that this room, the zone, make the deepest desires come true. Maybe he doesn't really, in deep down, doesn't desire that anymore. He desires something else, and which is very dangerous, and he doesn't dare. Like the doctor. Doctor doesn't desire maybe truly to leave from there, and he's enjoying. There's this side of what's the term? Masochistic side. They enjoy, the doctor enjoy, and the scientist enjoy, and this writer enjoys this feeling of being trapped. Because to break away from this requires agency. And once you have the agency, you are open to suffer. You have to face with your own choices. And complaining about inability in that sense, it's like relaxing for them. They're just blaming for someone.
Yes, but I don't think if the writer like stepped into the zone, like, you know, and you know, his wildest, biggest dreams came true, you know, his life would be worse than it is now. Because like in the beginning, you see him like drinking, even forgetting like his hat on the roof of the car, beautiful car, by the way, and beautiful lady standing next to him, like, you know, such a gorgeous woman. I'm like, you know, at last, you know, someone beautiful, you know, in Russian film, you know, because
No.
even in social films, in festival films, in all films we see, most of characters are not good looking, and you know, why don't they cast people and find like beautiful for beautiful, you know, ugly for ugly, like, you know, weird for weird, but different types, you know. Usually we see non-beautiful people, you know, on screen, and it's the same today. And actually, I also want to draw a parallel. As you said, in a Stalker, the wife of the professor cheated on him.
Yeah.
And in Once Upon a Time, in Anatolia, husband cheated on
Exactly.
his wife. And it's actually very true, because in Russia, in most of the cases, it's the woman that cheats on a man. And probably in Turkey, it's men who cheats on them also.
I don't know.
It sounds real to me.
Yeah, I see. No, but you know, there's one interesting thing that I also find interesting. I mean, Stalker deals with this in deep down, like many of Tarkovsky's films, about belief, about something bigger than the material world that we are living in. And we see this in the professor. Professor's aim is to destroy that zone, to explode that and get rid of it forever. But once he comes there, even he, the scientist who thinks, you know, very materialistically, especially considering that he's a Soviet scientist, a communist scientist, he comes there and he doesn't want to destroy that hope, because he's also wants to believe that there is something more than just the material. Yeah.
And remember, at the very beginning of Stalker, you see the credits, and it actually reminded me Star Wars. You know, the beginning when, you know, the credits go up and you read, you know, it's very similar, you know, in the Star Wars as it is in Tarkovsky's film. Just one short message, but still very, very cool, very original.
Nice. I think I spilled out everything that I took notes of. I don't know, these are the things that I could find, connections, or these are the things that I thought interesting to say. I don't know if you have anything to add. Maybe we can continue. I mean, I know it's a bit clumsy because we are trying to find our rhythm as well, you know.
Yes,
It's our
yes.
first meeting, but hopefully it will be something nice. I'm sure it will be something nice next time. Do you have anything else to add?
Probably that's it. Like, you know, the main stuff, we said that about the cast, about the directors, and actually, it's two best films of each of them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we chose these films to discuss.
Okay. Before
Yecit,
closing, I should ask, which one is your favorite? You asked me the questions, but I didn't ask you the question.
me,
What is
they
your
are
favorite?
different. They are different because, like, Stalker, as you said, like, it's like an imaginary place. It's not real, And Once Upon a Time in Anatolia is totally real to me. It's so true. And visually, it's, of course, beautiful. If I have to choose between cast, then of course, Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, better cast. Like
Really?
all actors, not just like one, not main. And If I have to choose like as a script, then Stalker. So in each film, there is something great and best. It's not like in one film everything is better than in another. No, in every film there is something strong and interesting, or at least like one actor made a great performance. Someone like impressed you, others may not. But in Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, I really love the cast because you see a very strong ensemble, and even just Yilmaz Erdogan, he is more than an actor. That's why he performs like that. He is a director himself. He knows like what to do to have a great film in the end. He performs as if it's his film, not Nuri Bilge Ceylan's. It's not like, okay, I'm just an actor here, I will not turn on 100% of my talent. No, it's very, very strong. And then Taner Birsel, also very charismatic. You look at each of them, Dr. Kemal, Muhammad Uzune, fantastic. And you can't even pick one among them. And the driver, like a Arab character, the way he is called, also fantastic. Actually, when I watched the film, I expected something from that driver, like that he knows something, because he doesn't want to go to this road. He wants to use another, and you're like, why? And like, he looks very strange and weird, and you expect something bad from him, and in the end, he just like eats and sits near the fire. I love the scene with him, and he just takes off his shoes, and remember, just in his socks, he wants to sit near the fire and get warm. So, natural, scenes, but very, very cute and with sense of humor. I love that the characters look like real people. And the girl who played the daughter, and actually, speaking of the village people, and especially those who live well in the village, it's so true. They don't want to leave village. Why? Because they have everything there. Their life is great.
That's
You're like, okay, if your life is great, why not move? Why not move on, and achieve something more, right? You can become a mayor of Ankara. Why just be there in the village if you are so great in your opinion, right? So, but no, they don't want to move. And it's also just like in Russian villages and small towns. If you see a minister of something, he is a minister until the day he dies, no way for him just to finish his contract and be changed, no.
nice.
It's like, oh, they asked me, I didn't want to, come on, So it also looked very, very true. So
Nice.
And actually, when they talked about the girl, that she's so beautiful, like for this place, what will happen to her, and prosecutor talked about his daughter that was born and wife died. I was actually thinking maybe that's the daughter, like somehow it will turn that he found his daughter like in Bollywood films, but no. So
one last thing I would like to ask. At the end of Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, once they find the dead body,
yes,
there's one scene. The brother says that I am the one who killed him.
mm-hmm.
Did you notice that detail?
What exactly? Like, so that he is crazy and he
No, no,
says,
no.
"Shut up."
The younger brother,
Yes.
when he was held by the soldiers,
Yeah, yeah, I remember the
I
police.
am the murderer. He
Mhm.
didn't do that.
And
So
they didn't believe him. And
they didn't believe him, and the brother makes him silent as well. Shut
yes,
up.
yes, like, shut up, you know.
Yeah. And actually, I think this is a very nice food for thought by Ceylan, that we have to think about it, because it's not
Probably
over.
he killed, and nobody will like put the crazy guy, like, you know, they will think, you know, oh, come on, he's just like
Yeah. But the good thing is that when the film is over,
joking.
the film is over. It's not really over. You take it with you.
Yes.
Continues to live with you, like Stalker. When the film is over, because we didn't get all the answers. For example, we didn't get the answers why these people didn't go into the zone. Why
Mhm.
did they really desire? But why didn't they do this? Because of this, the films continue to live with us.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I should just shut up and finish.
No, no, it's really interesting. Yes, yeah, I remember that detail. And you know, with the Ceylan's films, it's always an open finale. So he leaves that to the viewers. So the way you want, it will continue like that, because there is life and death, and someone dies, someone is born, but life goes on no matter what happens. And it is an open finale and interesting. But you know, we don't even see the reason why Kenan killed that man. So like the reason why he just killed, you know, and they're looking for the dead body hidden somewhere in Anatolia. So it's just a fact given to the viewer. So for me, even like the life of prosecutor is more interesting, because in his conversations with the doctor Kemal, he kind of talks about someone else as if it's not like his situation, but we learn about him, about his life. You know, he can open to someone like he doesn't know very well, but you know, he can be relaxed when he talks about his private life, you know, with doctor. So, and it's really interesting, like the way script is done, the way it's adapted, so that he kind of gives you like a little bit of information, then like 20 minutes later a little bit more like addition, and then in the very end like the whole truth comes out.
I see.
It doesn't go like non-stop, like, you know, one line, one family, one couple. We learn about so many people one after another.
Yes.
In Nuri Bilge Ceylan's film.
I will say goodbye to everybody. I hope you enjoyed what we are trying to do, our experimentation. I'm sure we will find our rhythm and we will be better next time. Thanks for your time and hope to see you again. Anything else to say, Amina? Would you like to say something?
Thanks to everyone for watching. Join us every month. We will discuss best films made in different corners of the world.
That's great. See you.